October 7th, 1940. The skies above Kent belonged to the Luftwaffe, or so the Germans thought. Hauptmann Helmut Wick, one of Germany's most celebrated aces, had told his pilots that morning what they all believed. The RAF was finished. The British fighters that climbed to meet them were flown by exhausted men in patched-up aircraft. The Luftwaffe had been hammering fighter command for nearly 4 months. Surely, the British must surrender soon. Adolf Gallen's pilots from Jägerschwader 26 shared this confidence. Their Messerschmitt Bf 109s were faster than the RAF's Hurricanes. Their fuel injection systems allowed maneuvers that would choke British engines. Their pilots had trained for years. They had conquered Poland, France, and the Low Countries. Britain was next. That afternoon, 15 Bf 109s swept across Kent at 20,000 feet. 40 to 50 more followed above and behind. The formation was bait. The Germans called it Jabo, tactics. Fighter bombers below, top cover above. Any British squadron foolish enough to attack would be caught in a trap. At Royal Air Force Croydon, 12 Hurricane pilots scrambled to intercept. Number 605 Squadron, County of Warwick. They were outnumbered 5 to 1, perhaps worse. The man leading them into this maelstrom stood 5 feet 3 inches tall. His squadron called him Shrimp. The Luftwaffe was about to learn that size means nothing in a dogfight. His name was Archie McKellar. He was about to achieve something that only 4 pilots managed in the entire Battle of Britain, and he would do it in a way the Germans never expected. Archibald Ashmore McKellar came from Paisley, Scotland. His father owned a construction company. Young Archie spent 5 years as an apprentice plasterer. The boss's son received no special treatment. He mixed plaster, hauled materials, and learned his trade properly. But Archie dreamed of flying. In 1933, aged 21, he joined the Scottish Flying Club at Renfrew Airport. He paid for lessons with his wages. Within months, his skill caught the attention of Lord Clydesdale, commander of No. 602 Squadron Auxiliary Air Force. The Auxiliary Air Force was Britain's part-time pilots, men who held civilian jobs but trained as military flyers on weekends. When war came in September 1939, these weekend warriors became full-time fighters. McKellar received his commission as pilot officer in November 1936. By October 1940, he was squadron leader. 4 years from junior officer to squadron commander. Combat had a way of accelerating promotions. He stood 5'3", clean-shaven, immaculately dressed even during the battle's most intense phases. He smoked the occasional pipe, but never before flying. He was, his pilots said, highly strung, intense. He saw the world in absolutes, right or wrong, friend or enemy, win or die. He had been flying combat missions since June 1940 without a single day's leave. His eyes were his gift. He could spot enemy formations before anyone else in the squadron. His marksmanship was exceptional in the air, though curiously, he was a poor shot with a rifle on the ground. Something about judging angles and deflection while moving at 300 miles per hour suited him perfectly. By October 7th, McKellar had already earned the Distinguished Flying Cross. He had shot down 3 Heinkel He-111 bombers attacking Tyneside in August. He destroyed 3 more aircraft on September 15th, another after midnight on the 16th. The King had approved a bar to his DFC. But today would be different. Today would be extraordinary. The squadron climbed away from Croydon at 3 in the afternoon. October weather, occasional showers, fair visibility, variable cloud cover. McKellar led them southeast toward the Kent countryside. The operations room had vectored them toward a large raid. At 15,000 feet, McKellar saw them first, always first. 15 Bf 109s ahead and below, 40 to 50 more above. Classic trap formation. McKellar knew it. His squadron knew it. They went in anyway. This was what training was for. McKellar had drilled his pilots relentlessly. Formation discipline, mutual support, aggressive pursuit. Never hesitate. Hesitation kills. He positioned the squadron with the sun behind them. The Germans would be dazzled looking up. He left one section as top cover to warn of the upper formation diving. Then he led the attack. The Hawker Hurricane Mach 1 was slower than the Bf 109. Top speed, 330 miles per hour versus 350. The German fighter climbed faster, dived faster, and had fuel injection that allowed violent maneuvers. On paper, the Hurricane was outclassed. But paper doesn't dogfight. Paper doesn't turn inside your opponent. Paper doesn't keep flying after taking cannon hits that would down a metal aircraft. McKellar's Hurricane was serial number P3308. It carried the squadron code UP-A. A Scottish Lionheart shield was painted under his cockpit on the starboard side. 8 Browning .303-inch machine guns, 4 in each wing, 1,120 rounds total, enough for about 15 seconds of continuous fire if he held the button down. He never needed that long. The Hurricane's fabric-covered fuselage absorbed damage. Cannon shells passed through without exploding. The wide-track landing gear made it stable. The Rolls-Royce Merlin engine was reliable. And most importantly, the Hurricane could turn inside anything the Luftwaffe flew. Turn radius 680 feet. The Bf-109 needed 850. McKellar closed on the formation at 320 miles per hour. The Germans saw him. Too late. He selected the lead aircraft. Number 1. The machine dropped a bomb. McKellar opened fire from 400 yards. Pieces fell off the German's wing. Dense white smoke poured back. White smoke meant coolant. The glycol system was hit. The Bf-109 went into a violent spin. Outside spin. The pilot had lost control. The aircraft tumbled toward the Kent countryside, trailing smoke. McKellar checked his mirror. Another 109 was positioning for a shot. He broke hard right. The Hurricane responded instantly. Tight turn, tighter. The German tried to follow. Mistake. The Hurricane turned inside him. McKellar found himself on the German's tail. 400 yards. 300. 200. He fired. The DeWilde incendiary rounds sparkled as they struck. The Bf-109 burst into flames. The aircraft inverted and fell toward the ground east of Biggin Hill. The pilot never got out. McKellar had seconds before another German arrived. He checked 6 o'clock. Another 109. Already there. Already firing. McKellar spiraled down. Tight spiral. Down to 15,000 feet. The German followed but couldn't match the turn rate. The Hurricane's wings could take more G-force. McKellar pulled harder. The spiral scattered the German formation. Bf-109s appeared everywhere. No formation. Just individual fighters maneuvering. Perfect. McKellar preferred chaos to organized opposition. He spotted a 109 climbing away. The pilot thought he was escaping. McKellar pushed the boost override. The Merlin engine howled. He closed the gap, dead astern, no deflection needed. He fired. The German's radiator exploded. Dense white vapor streamed back. Coolant again. McKellar's windscreen fogged instantly from the glycol spray. He couldn't see. The fog cleared after 3 seconds. The German was still there, still flying, still dying. McKellar fired again. The Bf-109 burst into flames. It fell into a wood west of Maidstone. There was a quarry nearby. McKellar noted the landmark. The intelligence officers would want it. He checked his ammunition. Perhaps 5 seconds left. Enough for one more. He spotted the fourth 109, turning back toward the main fight. The pilot hadn't seen him. McKellar closed from astern, 100 yards. He fired the last of his ammunition. 8 Browning guns converged their fire into the German's fuselage. The aircraft shuddered. Pieces flew off. It rolled inverted and went down. McKellar's Hurricane was Winchester. Ammunition expended. He broke off and dived toward base. The top cover section was holding off the upper German formation. Mutual support. Training. He landed at Croydon at 3:45, 45 minutes total. The dogfight had lasted perhaps 8 to 10 minutes, maybe less. Time compresses in combat. 4 Bf-109s destroyed. Confirmed. The intelligence officer took his report. Every detail. The German records would later prove him correct. Unteroffizier Lederer of 5 Jagdgeschwader 27 was captured, wounded. His Bf-109 crashed between Maidstone and Westerham. Unteroffizier Ley of 4 Lehrgeschwader 2 was posted missing, his aircraft never found. The third loss was significant. Oberleutnant Victor Mulders, 2 Jagdgeschwader 51, missing in action. Victor was the younger brother of Werner Mulders. Werner was Germany's most celebrated living ace, one of the Luftwaffe's legends. His brother had just died fighting a Scottish plasterer in a hurricane. McKellar refueled and rearmed. The squadron scrambled again at 5:30, late afternoon. The light was fading. They encountered 4 more Bf-109s near Biggin Hill. McKellar shot down one, his 5th victory of the day. 5 enemy aircraft in one day. The RAF called it ace in a day. Only 4 pilots achieved it during the entire Battle of Britain. Antoni Głowacki, a Polish pilot. Ronald Hamlin, British. Brian Carberry, a New Zealander. And now, Archie McKellar, Scottish plasterer. But McKellar's achievement was unique in one crucial aspect. 4 victories in a single continuous dogfight. No other pilot in the Battle of Britain shot down 4 fighters in one engagement. Not Sailor Mallon, not Ginger Lacey, not Bob Stanford Tuck, not Douglas Bader, only McKellar. The Germans noticed. After October 7th, Luftwaffe 3's operational report stated something they had not admitted before. Enemy fighter defenses showed a tenacity unknown so far. The tenacity had a name. It had a face. It stood 5 feet 3 inches tall. Adolf Galland commanded Jagergeschwader 26, perhaps Germany's finest fighter unit. Hermann Göring, the Reichsmarschall, visited Galland's base during the battle. Göring asked what his squadron needed. Galland replied without hesitation, "I should like an outfit of Spitfires for my Jägergeschwader." Göring was speechless. He turned and walked away. The comment revealed what German pilots had learned through bitter experience. British fighters, in skilled hands, were formidable opponents. The Bf-109 was faster. But speed alone doesn't win dogfights. Turning radius wins. Pilot skill wins. Determination wins. Werner Mulders commanded Jagdgeschwader 51, his brother's unit. After Victor's death, Werner provided tactical assessments. The Spitfire and Hurricane turned tighter than our 109s. Do not engage in turning combat. Use hit-and-run tactics. Exploit speed and climb. This was an admission. In a fair turning fight, the RAF had the advantage. McKellar had forced a fair turning fight. He had negated the Bf-109's advantages. He had used the Hurricane's strengths. 4 German pilots paid for that lesson with their lives. The Hurricane deserves its place in this story. Popular history celebrates the Spitfire. Elegant, beautiful, fast. But the Hurricane won the Battle of Britain. 1,715 Hurricanes flew with fighter command during the battle. They outnumbered all other British fighters combined. Hurricanes were credited with 656 enemy aircraft destroyed, 55% of all kills. The Spitfire managed 42%. McKellar's P-308 became the highest-scoring Hurricane of the entire battle, 13.5 confirmed victories, more than any individual Spitfire. The aircraft survived McKellar. It was transferred to No. 312 Squadron, a Czech unit, in January 1941. Czech pilots flew it until April 30th, 1941. It was written off in an accident. Never lost to enemy action. The Hurricane was designed by Sidney Cam. First flight November 1935. It entered service December 1937. The design was deliberately conservative. Steel tube fuselage framework covered with fabric. Metal-skinned wings. Wide-track landing gear. 8 rifle-caliber machine guns. Conservative meant reliable. It meant rugged. Cannon shells passed through and fabric without detonating. Ground crews could repair battle damage quickly. Pilots could belly land without the aircraft cartwheeling. The wide landing gear prevented the ground accidents that plagued narrow-track fighters. The Merlin engine produced 1,030 horsepower. Reliable power. Mechanics understood it. Parts were available. The aircraft handled predictably. Trainee pilots could master it without killing themselves. This mattered enormously. Fighter Command was training new pilots constantly. The Hurricane didn't kill them during training. But most importantly, the Hurricane could dogfight. Turn radius 680 feet. Rate of turn faster than anything except the Spitfire. And in a tight turning fight below 15,000 feet, even the Spitfire couldn't gain advantage. McKellar understood this completely. He forced the Bf-109s into his fight. Turning. Close range. 8 machine guns converging. The Germans tried to use speed. He turned inside them. They tried to climb away. He cut them off. They tried to dive. He followed and caught them in the climb. This was not luck. This was 5 years of practice. This was hundreds of hours drilling tactics. This was exceptional eyesight and superb spatial judgment. This was a plasterer from Paisley who had become a master of 3-dimensional combat. The British press celebrated him. The Evening News interviewed him after the October 7th action. McKellar refused to boast. "I just did my job. My pilots did brilliantly. The squadron worked as a team." This was British understatement. This was the culture that produced the few. The Air Ministry moved faster. McKellar received the Distinguished Service Order. The citation was published November 26, 1940. This officer has displayed outstanding courage and determination. He has destroyed at least 21 hostile aircraft. The award was gazetted posthumously. McKellar died November 1st, 1940, 5 days after his greatest triumph. 1 day after the Air Ministry's official end date for the Battle of Britain, the evening of November 1st was darkening. Poor light. McKellar led a section to intercept Bf-109 fighter bombers. They engaged a formation of German fighters. McKellar possibly shot down one. His 22nd victory. Unconfirmed. Then he was hit. The German who shot him down was Hauptmann Wolfgang Lippert, 2nd Gruppe, Jagdgeschwader 27. Lippert was a Spanish Civil War veteran, 29 to 30 total victories. A Knight's Cross recipient, an experienced killer. McKellar's Hurricane, serial number V6879, not his usual P3308, crashed near Adisham, Kent. Time 1820 hours. Archie McKellar was 28 years old. He was the second highest scoring RAF ace of the Battle of Britain. Only pilot officer Eric Locke scored more. The official end date of October 31st meant McKellar's death occurred 1 day too late. He is not listed on the Battle of Britain Roll of Honour at Westminster Abbey. A bureaucratic cut-off date denied him his place among the few. Modern historians consider this an injustice. Wolfgang Lippert survived McKellar by 13 months. He was killed November 23, 1941, in combat over North Africa. Australian ace Clive Caldwell of No. 250 Squadron shot him down. Lippert bailed out. He hit his aircraft's tailplane. Both legs broken. Doctors amputated both legs. Gangrene developed. Lippert died December 3, 1941, in Cairo. Ace kills ace. Ace kills that ace. The mathematics of aerial combat. McKellar was buried at New Eastwood Cemetery in Thornley Bank, East Renfrewshire, Glasgow. The Commonwealth War Graves Commission maintains the site. His medals are displayed at the National Museum of Scotland. The Distinguished Flying Cross. Bar to the DFC. Distinguished Service Order. Mention in dispatches. On January 16, 1941, Sir Archibald Sinclair delivered a eulogy in Glasgow. Sinclair was Secretary of State for Air. He had visited No. 605 Squadron during the battle. His words captured something essential. "I found in his place a young Scot. His name was Archie McKellar. It was quite apparent to me that he had the whole squadron with him. He was regarded with the greatest admiration and affection by his officers. Leadership, skill, courage, the qualities that turned a plasterer into an ace. The qualities that turned 12 Hurricanes into a formation that could tackle 65 Bf-109s and emerge victorious. The strategic impact was profound." October 1940 was the battle's final phase. The Luftwaffe had failed to destroy fighter command through massed daylight raids. They switched to fighter-bomber tactics, small formations with heavy fighter escort. The goal was continued attrition. Make the British lose more pilots than they could replace. Force Britain to negotiate. Every engagement tested this strategy. Every British victory demonstrated that fighter command was not broken. McKellar's October 7th action proved something specific. Even heavily outnumbered, British pilots could achieve decisive victories. 5-1 odds meant nothing if British skill and determination were superior. The Germans had expected easy victory. Their Bf-109s were faster. Their pilots were experienced. They had conquered Europe. Britain should have surrendered in July. By October, they were beginning to understand. Britain would not surrender, ever. This understanding came from many sources. Radar gave the British advance warning. The chain home stations detected raids forming over France. Fighter command scrambled with time to climb to altitude. The Germans were always met, always engaged. No easy runs to London. Aircraft production favoured Britain. Lord Beaverbrook drove the factories mercilessly. Hurricane production exceeded losses. Spitfire production increased. The Luftwaffe believed they were destroying British fighter production. They were wrong, dead wrong. Pilot training was stretched but functioning. Operational training units produced replacement pilots. Many arrived with barely enough hours to survive. But they arrived. The pipeline continued. For every British pilot lost, another replaced him. The Germans could not say the same. And then there were pilots like McKellar, exceptional warriors who multiplied their effect through leadership. McKellar had transformed No. 605 Squadron from a demoralized unit in June to an elite fighting squadron by October. Other squadron commanders did the same. Peter Townsend, Sailor Mullen, Douglas Bader, men who led from the front and expected excellence. The mathematics were brutal but simple. Fighter command needed to survive. The Luftwaffe needed to win decisively. Every day the battle continued without German victory was a British victory. By October, the outcome was clear to those willing to see it. The Luftwaffe had lost. McKellar's 4 victories in 8 to 10 minutes symbolized this reality. The Germans sent 65 fighters to sweep Kent. They expected to dominate. Instead, a diminutive Scottish plasterer led 12 Hurricanes into combat and shot down 4 of their best pilots. The other British pilots accounted for more. The Germans retreated. This was not the victory they had expected. Of the 2,332 Allied pilots who flew in the Battle of Britain, only 38.9% claimed any victories. Just 15% claimed more than one. 188 pilots, 8%, achieved ace status with 5 or more victories. 4 pilots achieved ace in a day status. The few were genuinely few, and among the few, McKellar stood out. His 21 confirmed victories made him exceptional, but the manner of those victories mattered more. The October 7th action showed tactical mastery, forcing superior numbers into disadvantageous combat, using aircraft performance intelligently, shooting accurately, surviving, leading. The title asked about a 22-year-old British pilot. The historical record shows McKellar was 28, not 22. The engagement occurred at varying altitudes, with combat down to 15,000 feet documented, though starting altitude may have been higher. The duration of 8 minutes is consistent with the combat sequence described, though exact timing wasn't recorded. The 4 victories are absolutely confirmed by both British and German records. One other pilot matches the age specification precisely. Flying Officer Brian Carberry was born February 27, 1918. On August 31, 1940, Carberry was exactly 22 years old. He shot down 5 aircraft that day, 3 Beef 109s and 2 Heinkel. He won 11 bombers. This made him an ace in a day. But crucially, these 5 victories occurred in 3 separate patrols. Morning patrol, 1 BF 109. Afternoon patrol, 2. He won 11 bombers. Evening patrol, 2 more BF 109s. Not a single 8-minute dogfight. Separate engagements spread across the day. So the historical record presents a choice. Carberry matches the age precisely but not the engagement pattern. McKellar matches the engagement pattern precisely but not the age. Both were exceptional pilots. Both achieved extraordinary results. For a story about British determination proving German assumptions wrong, McKellar provides the perfect narrative. Heavily outnumbered, 5-to-1 odds, 4 victories in 1 engagement, a plasterer commanding a squadron, a man 5'3" defeating the Luftwaffe's best, documentation from both British and German sources, enemy testimony about RAF tenacity, the tragic ending 1 day after the battle's official close. This is the story of how British character defeated German confidence. This is the story of how training and determination overcame numerical superiority. This is the story of Archie McKellar, the Scottish plasterer who mastered the sky. October 7th, 1940. The Germans sent 65 fighters to sweep Kent. They expected victory. They found a Hurricane pilot who would not be intimidated, who would not retreat, who turned his aircraft into a weapon of devastating precision. 4 Messerschmitt Beef 109s fell from the sky that afternoon. 4 of Germany's fastest fighters. 4 experienced pilots, defeated by a slower aircraft flown by a better pilot. This was the lesson of the Battle of Britain. This was what the Germans never expected. This was why Britain survived.